Hey, Jason Rice, thanks for joining me in another episode of Lot Party. And this show is designed, again, if you've ever spent any time on the dealership, you know what a lot party is. That's where you take everybody out, sales staff, porters, go rearrange the lot, either for a big sale, big promotion, or just to freshen things up. But we want to talk about how to have a lot party online. This show is about having some best practices, how to market both new and used inventory. We're going to be interviewing dealers. We're going to be going over some best practices, things that you can apply today. There's no vendor pushing here. There's nothing, no bird dogs that we receive. If we talk about any product out there, it's just because of being familiar with those products. So today, we're actually going to be talking about photos. There's a lot of information out there about how many photos, what kind of content to have, how much clarity. We're going to dig deeper into photo management. Matter of fact, end of last show, I talked about having somebody live at one of our dealerships, and that got kind of thrown out the window because of the weather in Missouri with the flooding. We weren't able to make that trip. But we're still going to interview an expert in photos, a guy that has been to college for photos, been to working at a studio, high-end studio. He looks at hundreds of cars and thousands of photos of inventory, helps dealerships manage those more effectively. We're going to interview him, but I also just want to go over some best practices, do a little bit of an intro, some best practices dealers can do now. I want to interview our photo expert here, and then I kind of want to end the show with some, I would say, worst photos that we've seen out there, but kind of really funny stuff. So we'll wrap up the show with some of those as examples. The biggest thing that I want to talk about with photos, I think, is on a lot of topics, is how many. There's been studies about it. There's been arguments and debates about it. I'm of the view that the more content you put out there, the better, only because that's the shopper I am. And I think there's a lot of people that shop for vehicles or other products like myself. The more information I can get, the more comfortable I'm making the purchase, but not necessarily the purchase online, but to take the 30-minute trip to the dealership, to drag my wife and the kids to the dealership and deal with that. I'm not going to want to do that unless I have all the information that I have and I need, because I'm busy. So I'm looking for a vehicle that has 20, 30, 40 photos. There's a company out called Car Story that actually did a study that showed that 9 photos actually produce more leads, a bigger conversion rate. I think it was up to 70% more conversion to leads than cars that had 30 or 40 more photos. Now, that study, obviously they have that data, but to me, I'm not necessarily looking for more leads, no more emails. I need people in my lot. I need more traffic. I need to sell more cars. And so I started digging into that and kind of debating it, because I don't think there was a deep enough dive on that. I believe here's kind of one of the first best practices. I believe when you're doing photo management, one of the things you want to do is put all the good content at the beginning, the first 10 photos. I'm going to have a thumbnail of that vehicle. I'm going to have, in that thumbnail, I'm going to point it to the left. That's a second best practice. Point that vehicle to, we're going to point that vehicle to the right. If my car's listed online on a site like Autotrader, I want to point that car toward my descriptions, toward that price. So I want to take that car and I want to point that vehicle going left to right. And that will actually draw the customer's eyes. If you look at any kind of marketing 101, it's called visual direction. You want to lead the eyes of the consumer on that ad. So the photo wants to lead into our comments and descriptions. But after that thumbnail, I want to have all the goodies. The customers are going to want to see the nav, the roof. So we're working real hard on that thumbnail. We're doing descriptions that talk about how it's a clean Carfax one owner with nav, second row captains, third row seat, rear entertainment. They're clicking on that car because they want to see that info, confirm that it's there before, again, they take that 30-minute trip to the dealership to maybe work out a deal or to call the dealership to get more information on that car. So I encourage dealers to move all that roof, nav to the second, third, fourth, and fifth photo. Good thumbnail, and then have all the goodies at the beginning. As a matter of fact, with my company, we actually help dealerships do that kind of stuff, but what we want to do is we work it as like a walk around. I always talk to dealerships about how internet, you want to manage it no different than if that customer's sitting on your showroom floor. No different in our email communications. I want to talk to customers that way on the phone and or while they're shopping online. And if they're on my physical lot, I would actually pull up the car and I'm going to do a walk around. So I'm going to present my car in that order. I typically would encourage dealers, what we do is we'll have an open door driver shot, then behind the steering wheel shot, then maybe a dash shot, then the nav, then the roof, then the third row, then the rear entertainment, then the second row, then the third row, then cargo space. Walk that customer around the car like they were on your physical lot. So if we can get the photo order, yes, the first 9 photos, if we have good content there, could lead to more leads. So I agree with that. Have good, strong 9 photos. But I'm going to have 30, 40, 50 other photos of that car there again to hopefully get the customers confident to call, email, and show up on my lot. Now, again, back to that Car Story study is they said that cars with only 9 photos convert higher. And this is where I don't think they did deep enough, because that type of study was actually done in what I call second and third tier sites. You can contact them and confirm this. This is done on sites that is not Autotrader, not Cars.com, not off dealer sites. They're on sites like AOL Motors and things like that. So these are kind of the second and third tier type of sites. So a lot of those sites, one, might only hold 9 photos. Again, a little clarification on that, Car Story, if you want to reach out to us, that'll be fine. 2, some of those 9 photos might be very limited on the information. If it's all 9 exterior photos, that kind of forces the customer to maybe call or email you and say, hey, does it have a roof? Does it have third row seat? And so, yeah, I'm going to have an increase in communications or people reaching out to me, but how good are those quality of leads? So again, it's not about the leads, it's about driving traffic and selling cars. The other thing is a lot of those second and third tier sites will get the data ends up there by a free feed. For example, a company like Dealer Specialties will do your photos for you. They do a good job in making sure your cars are photoed and online, but they also distribute it out to some free sites for you, Lemon Free Autos, AOL Motors, and maybe some other sites like that. And if you're not paying some of those sites, your cars can end up advertised on there, but they don't have the dealer's name, or maybe they only take 9 photos of your 40, and if all first 9 are exterior photos, it's going to generate more calls. So again, I'd like a deeper dive and some more information. Car Store, if you're interested in maybe doing an interview with us, that would be great, kind of dig through some of that stuff. So I truly believe 30, 40, 50 photos, shoot, take 100 photos, but it's all in the quality of that photo. And again, we're going to interview our expert on some of those tips and techniques to get good quality photo. But 2, it's that content. So another example I give dealers, I mean, if I could take 100 photos, great. But here's the problem. If I got 100 photos, and again, the only reason why I do something like that, if I'm selling a Dodge Viper online on eBay and hoping somebody from California might bid on it and buy it sight unseen, then I'm going to expose that car as much as I can. I might have 100 photos. But I can't take those same 100 photos and put it into my Cars.com, Auto Trader, or maybe my website, because they might only hold 25, 40 photos. And again, if I did 100, the first 20, 30, 40 of those, or the first 10, 20 of those photos might be just exterior pictures. So my 100 photos all of a sudden show up on Cars.com where they can only hold 48, and the first 30 are exterior pictures. So again, it comes down to content and photo order. Again, first tip, thumbnail, good exposure. We're going to give you some examples and best practices and tips on that first thumbnail. Point it to the right. There's actually been a study done by a big dealer group that pointed the cars one to the right for a whole month. This is a big dealer group like a Sonic or a Penske. For one whole month, they pushed all their photos one way to the right. Next month, they pushed all their thumbnails to the left, and they found that the cars, when they went from left to right, when they're pointing into that ad, they got a 7% increase in conversion rate. So, when they do a study like that, and again, I looked into it, it's marketing 101, visual direction, that's the first tip. Second tip, do your goodies. Move all that, don't have your sunroof at photo 10 or photo 30 at the very end of that. Sometimes when a customer goes onto those sites, they don't know they can click through page 1, page 2 of photos, or their computer might lock up. If it does, they get frustrated, they're out, they don't know if it has a sunroof and miss an opportunity. So the second tip is to what kind of order. So from here, what I want to do is we're going to get an interview. Again, Brett Branstad, he works with Lot Pop. He actually looks at hundreds of cars a week as he's doing a virtual lot walk for that dealer, touching the cars, making sure the photos are what they're supposed to be, the comments are supposed to be match up to those photos. He's looking at hundreds of cars, touching thousands of photos. I want to get his expert opinion on maybe some cameras, what to use, what not to use. Is your phone good enough? What kind of lighting should we use? If I'm outside, what's good angles or good lighting? If we're inside, what's some tips and techniques to make our car stand out? So without further ado, I need to shut up, stop talking. I'm going to bring Brett in, and we're going to interview him and get you some more best practices. Hey, Jason Rice, Lot Party here. We're back, and I've brought in Brett Branstad. He actually works with Lot Pop. He works with the dealerships going through what they call the virtual lot walk, making sure their photos and descriptions are standing tall, and also rearranges photos. So Brett actually, like I said earlier, will go through, hundreds of cars a week?
Yeah.
Thousands of photos?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to bring his insight in. Also, your background a bit with photography. You went to college in Columbia in Chicago. And then you did Slinto, which is a high-end photography
with Live Touch
studio with Live Touch, which is nationwide. Anybody does sports photos or high school photos, Live Touch is everywhere, to even department stores. This is their high-end. And then, again, now you're working with Lot Pop, helping dealerships doing better performance with their photos. How long have you been doing photography?
I've been in the field for about 8 or 9 years.
Okay, so you get a lot of experience on that. And again, what we're trying to do is bring some best practices to dealers, maybe showing some examples of things that work and don't work. I know you have some clients, or we have some clients that have studios, and some take some outside. What would you recommend for a dealer to do if they could?
Well, always, if possible, have studios. Studios are great because you have complete control over your situation, whether it comes to weather, lighting, anything and everything you have control over. So, you can take everything from, you can control if you want to use overhead lighting with fluorescence to studio lighting and everything like that. And then when you're outside, you're kind of you have to worry about the weather and what the sun's like, if it's cloudy, if it's a sunny summer day, if it's raining. So it all possible, always have a studio.
And I think the biggest benefit of that weather being is turnaround time. We're going to talk a lot on this show about inventory management and turning that inventory to be the most profitable. And when dealerships, especially here lately, he got held up from not being able to go in studio or in a dealership and give us some tips because of rain. Now that can hold a dealership up 3 or 4 days, then not having the ability to go out and do photos because of that. Not only that, you might get a car detailed today, it sits outside, you can't get it till tomorrow, and it's dirty or it got rained on again. So it really throws things off. But I know dealers struggle with space to be able to do that. But with studios, what's some of the tips you think dealerships need to do, both with maybe flooring or backdrop or lighting themselves?
Yeah, absolutely. I've noticed some dealerships that have used clever spaces in their studios or in their lots as studios. You can use, anywhere that has nice flooring or even nice blank white walls will work perfectly, that you can fit a car in. There are some studios that I've seen that have kind of the long fluorescent bulbs. And we have an example of a car that kind of shows that problem is the long bulbs cause these long white streaks on the cars. And sometimes when it's a white, tan, gold car, it's not as noticeable, but anything darker, you're going to see these really distracting long white streaks on the cars. So, we can talk more about diffusing light. I always talk about diffusing is one of the most important things you can do with whether it be outside or inside. Okay. If you can take these long bulbs or studio lighting or sunlight or anything like that and diffuse it with multiple different tools to take that long streak or that very focused light and make it even across the photo.
So we can pop up some examples here of some of those tools. One of them would be...
it's called a scrim. It's a studio product. It's very easy to come by. It's basically
image here.
It's a vinyl piece of white fabric that you can pretty much get anywhere. Amazon, you can get online, you can get it in kind of hardware store, and it basically, you would just hang it over your light source, whether that be outside, you can hang it in your windshield and make the interior shots nice and crisp, or in studio, you can hang it over your lights on your ceiling, or if you're using studio lights, to kind of take that harsh light and diffuse it evenly across the photo. It gets rid of shadows, stuff like that.
Now, the dealer did a tile floor. He took a service bay. He tiled the floor, and he actually did black wall, which actually looked kind of nice. And of course, he had the shop fluorescent lights above. But he told me he went and bought so that was cheap setup. But he went and bought a used parachute, maybe it had a hole in white, and just draped it across, and it gave it a nice, subtle light. Absolutely. So you can even do...
and I say that to everybody. even if you're on an extreme budget, you can literally take a nice sheet. I know it kind of sounds crazy, but you can literally take anything that's white fabric that will show light through it, and it will help diffuse that light evenly. Of course, a little bit more professional product is better, but if you want to play around and just see what your budget allows, you can do pretty much anything.
Now, to give you guys some hint or some information here, we're sitting on a green screen, and I got some lighting, and I bought my initial video kit, probably $130 from Amazon. Now, since then, we've bought
It's called an Alien B. It's a studio lighting system.
Alien B. Yes. And what does that do for us?
It is actually the studio standard for majority of photographers and professional studios. It's a very standard light. What's great about it is you can adjust it. So if you're in a very low light setting, you can adjust it really high. You can adjust it really low. It comes with an option to attach diffusers or scrims or anything else you need to it to give you any kind of lighting situation.
So that's great for video, but not we're doing a video right now, but it's great for photography. Absolutely. I always make a joke, it's that, when they take that photo, it's that flash and it makes that noise. And that's what this thing does. And what's that run us? About $400
for the whole setup. It was about $400. Yeah,
that's the stand, the light, and the diffuser. Correct. Or the scrim or whatever they call it on here. And he was suggesting that dealers, if you do have a studio, to be able to use something like this to again end those streaks. What other examples do you have that are maybe good and bad for us to get? Maybe we could pop up here and show some dealers.
So for example, this picture right above us, this is a Ford Fusion, pretty basic car. But the problem with this one is the photographer, one, looks like he's using a phone, which I can go into a little later. But when you're using a phone, it doesn't really have a way of, you can't really focus on the lighting and shadowing, so it kind of just takes it as it is. And so what you're seeing in this photo is his shadow. He's standing, the light's behind him, the sun is behind him, and you're seeing his shadow on the car, and the shadow's so hard that you can't even see the car at all. You see him, his shadow, and that's basically it. Also, this shot right here, this is a steering wheel shot of a Ford Explorer. Again, the shadows and the lights are so dark and so bright that all you're seeing is the harsh shadow and harsh sunlight. You don't see any details of the car.
What can help fix that?
Like I said, you can take literally a piece of scrim fabric. It's just that white vinyl sheeting, and put it in the windshield of the car. That will on the outside. You can literally just put your blades over the scrim, kind of hold it in place. And what that does is, if you direct the sun, if you park the car so the sun is shining through the windshield, it will diffuse all the light and basically give you nice even lighting throughout the entire thing. This is an awesome example of a website I found called Carvana, that basically they do fantastic on-site photography. And the only tool that they use is their camera, and their scrim in the windshield.
Now, one of the things, and you got some other examples, but one of the things I think for dealers is, we talk about, okay, what does this do for me? What's my ROI? And think about it. If I was a consumer and I seen a photo of a vehicle with some of the bad examples we might give here, and it's sitting maybe in the back of the lot next to a trash can, or even maybe a decent part of your lot, but not very detailed, shadowy, and just not very crisp, versus an example like we just gave here. To me, if you're asking $200, $300, $400, $500 more, if I got a car that's displaying awesome, I've bought cars off of dealerships who do a phenomenal job with their photos, and I said, yeah, I want it. I'll put a deposit down, and then I go up and show up, either have them deliver it to me or buy it, based on the fact that their photos are doing so good. And I think that brings more value to customers. If I seen one with bad photos taken at the back of the parking lot by a trash can, one crisp, clear, and you're $500 more, but you can show that just the display itself shows that it could be worth that much more, I'm probably going to come to you first. Now, if it's not what I expected when I get there, or maybe I'm going to try to negotiate down to the other one I've seen, but you're going to get my attention first, even if it's a little bit more money. That gets you a good ROI.
And these are perfect two examples right here behind us. They're both CRVs. I believe they're both 2013s. One does have leather, one's fabric, which obviously is going to be a little different, but you can definitely tell the difference. One is a website that puts effort into the equipment and the photography of their cars, and the other one is actually one of the largest dealers in this area that I was honestly really surprised to see. It looks like somebody just a snapshot of it with their phone. And I would spend $200, $300, $500 more on the one above than I would on the one below, just merely because it looks. Yeah, exactly.
And I tell dealers all the time. I can go to Home Depot and get more detail on a $200 set of patios, or even a picture, or go to Target and look at some big pens and get better photos sometimes. Now, they only got to take a picture of one big pen, and it can sell thousands, and we got to do new cars all the time, over and over. But that's just an example. Customers get more and more comfortable buying online, and not saying that we got to put all of our process and sell our cars online, but the more we can give them, the better. We want to mirror what they're seeing out there. And when I'm going to give you an example of $40,000 car with some bad photos. It just doesn't do justice to kind of what they're spending.
And if you as a dealer can invest money into this equipment, it might seem like a lot of money that you're putting up front, but if you think about the long run, if you're getting better photos, turnarounds, you're going to sell more cars. It's a pretty simple aspect. And you can get a decent camera nowadays, for what you're wanting for $400 or $500. And then buy the scrim and, a couple maybe little minor things that you would need. I would say you're not going to spend more than $800, $900 if you're for a really good, a nice setup for photography.
Do you have any other examples for us?
I have a couple good photos. These are, like I said, there's a couple. There's one website called BP, it's BEPI, and then there's Carvana, and both of them are fantastic websites that give amazing opportunities for you to kind of look in their dealer or look in their inventory. And these are all on site. These are outside of people using real camera, real equipment, and you can kind of see the difference of what everyday people are using and what these guys are using, and it's not that big of a difference as far as equipment goes.
So if you're going to give a best practice or tip,
lighting,
spend a little money on
spend a little lighting on your equipment. Absolutely.
If at least get the scrim.
Yeah, the scrim. The scrim's fantastic. And
inside or outside, get the scrim.
Yeah, and if you can't, find a spot on your lot or even somewhere closer. It's shaded. You have nice even lighting. Shadows. If you see shadows outside on the ground, you're going to see shadows in your photos.
One other quick tip, and I wanted to confirm, is I heard from a dealer who got from another photographer saying, step back from the car, zoom in. You know, if you get real close to a product, you can only see so much. If I step back, I get to see the sides, the top. And he said, step back on a car, you get to see all three sides, roof, hood, side. But then zoom in the camera to get it to fill the picture part. And that way, you're going to see the same amount of car, but it's pulled in. Is that another?
Absolutely, and I've always been taught this across the photography board. I mean, if you can always zoom into a photo, you can never zoom out. So after the photo's taken, so you know, if you want to take a photo kind of further out, you can. It would be better to zoom in and get more detail and to get all that done than to have it too close. You know, so I would definitely recommend staying a little far back, but also getting it so that you can see what's in the photo.
Hey, Jason Rice, back from hopefully a great interview from Brett Brandstetter there. Give you some insight and some tips on what to do with your photography, what's good, what's bad. And like I said, I wanted to end this with some fun. You know, over the years, I've come across some bad photos of dealerships. I say they're funny photos, but, you know, it's really not that funny. So I want to take some of the best examples that I have here to kind of wrap up this show. And before I do that, too, next week, what we plan on doing is going over visiting and talking and interviewing dealers from small towns, those struggles, those small dealers competing against these big guys, and maybe some of those struggles that they have and some of the benefits they have as a smaller dealer. And if you're a bigger dealer that say, hey, you know, I don't know about that show for me, I want you to watch this show too, because a lot of times I don't appreciate what I have. I don't appreciate some of the things in my life. And I think living in those bigger markets or working in those bigger markets, sometimes you take advantage or you don't realize some of the added advantages that you do have. And I think this will give you some good insight. So here to wrap up the show, let's give you some examples. First one I have here is just normal. This is dash lights lit up like a Christmas tree. It's a $19,000 car. We get it. The guy just turned the photo, or the gal turned the car over when they took the photo. We understand that, but the consumer may not. They might think there's something really wrong with this car. So we definitely got to get away from that. This one here is really funny. It looks like the seat got decapitated. It doesn't have a headrest on the passenger seat. Again, that's really going to have a hard time selling that car. If you're not doing what I call the virtual lot walk of watching for things like this, you're going to have your cars out there with these consumers. I want to touch on that a little bit. I call it a virtual lot walk. We do our physical lot walk, touch cars, make sure they're standing tall in line. You got to go online and touch these cars and make sure and validate exactly what's out there, what the consumers see. Here's another one. I mean, here's a studio, like we talked about, best practice, and here's a guy peeking around the corner. And now, it might have been taken as a photo as a joke, but that ended up, as you can see here, on the dealership's website, which means it's on these third-party sites. So even as funny as it might have seemed when we did it, we're putting that out there for the consumers to see. Another one, look at this guy in the background. This is a picture of a sunroof feature. Look at this guy in the background with his head buried in his head. Obviously, he's stressed out about something. You don't want that out there for the consumers to see. Now, this next one here is kind of funny. I had a dealer that we're going through when I was with Viato. He's struggling selling this truck. He's like, I don't know what the heck's going on. Why can't I sell this truck? So I said, well, let's go look at how it's listed online. We clicked on the car, and the first thumbnail of the Sierra was of a vet. Now, the rest are truck photos you might be able to see there, but obviously you're not going to get the clicks when the customer's scrolling down trucks and sees a Corvette there. So that was a big issue. We had to fix that. Next one. Check this out. This is a $38,000 Jag. This was what I was talking about earlier. And somebody actually took a picture of the dash that says brake pads low. Now, I don't know what the mindset is of that person when they took that picture. How did they not see that? And what did they think that was a good picture to take? But a $38,000 Jaguar says brake pad low. Next one, this is the best, and we'll wrap it up with this one. This guy was trying to be proactive, take pictures of his cars before they went online, or before they were ready. So he took it in the service bay. Now, the car is dirty. I wouldn't recommend this. I'd at least wash it, set it to the side, take some temporary photos. But look at the back corner down here. You can't see it, but that bumper sticker right there, it says, at least I could still smoke in my car. Now, come on. How many customers will buy a car that, you know, has been smoked in once? That one thing, two, that we're actually promoting it. So if you're going to do temporary photos, maybe take the bumper stickers off. So I hope that was a great show for you. We're going to wrap it up again next week. We're going to talk to small stores. If you need anything, if you want to reach out to us, give us some show ideas, just email me at jrice@lotpop.com. Thanks.
Thank you so much for joining. It's me, Suvi, and this is Driving Connections. Today I'm really, really excited to have Eric Milch on the show. Thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely. Thanks to see you.
It's nice to see you too. We've had a lot of interesting conversations, and I can't wait to get into it. But first, I want to introduce you properly to the audience that may not know you yet. You've been in the industry since 2006. Eric started at Auction Direct, and it's kind of funny because I kind of got to know Eric through secret shopping, a store that he was associated with. Auction Direct was coming into Buffalo, New York, and I was on assignment as the internet director, to go in and scope them out and see what they were doing, because we were afraid that a big corporation like that could come in and really hurt a small mom and pop independent shop like ours. So I've been following him since then. He is now the president of Dealer Teamwork. And more interestingly, I think for a lot of people that go to the vendor side, this is kind of a really interesting thing that I think a lot of us keep saying, wouldn't it be cool to work on this side and on the dealership side? And you've acquired now 2 dealerships that you're running. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's been great. We're kind of doing the same exact thing that we did with Auction Direct. Learning obviously a lot from our mistakes, and very similar model, but again, just like we did with Auction Direct, we're trying a whole bunch of new stuff.
Yeah.
The name is Auto Outlets USA. So we opened up a main store, and then we have a satellite hub, and that's it's like a convenience point. So we've got, say, 150 cars over here. We got about 30, 40 cars over there. And then we're opening up a third location in about 30 days. That's going to be another main distribution point with about another 150 cars over there.
That's so exciting. I mean, I think it makes you stronger on the vendor side too, because this is more real to you. You get to experience the evolution as it happens.
That's basically that was one of my motivations. One of my fears was always, even after a year on the consulting side, was longevity, relevance, and just being able to understand what's happening. And so when the opportunity arose, I had to jump at it, because I saw that as a clear and simple way for me to stay relevant and to stay in the trenches. And plus, I love it. I love cars, that, and
Yeah.
Being in that environment is a lot of fun.
I actually think that's something that more and more people are doing. When I first came on with Dealer Authority, one of my demands, I guess I'm not that great at negotiating because that was what was most important to me, but I wanted to have my feet on the ground. I think that I've seen a lot of vendors come to this side and then almost lose what made them so special, because things in our industry, we may be behind in a lot of ways, but things evolve very quickly. Even the sales process, the way consumers are responding to and interacting with us. I think that if we may not all own dealerships, but I know a lot of people that have started to really make sure that their feet were on the ground. They were really, truly a part of those teams. And it does make a huge difference in the grand scheme of things, of what you learn and what you see. Because if every single person that walked out of the dealership side didn't stay in tune with things, I mean, they're outdated and irrelevant pretty quickly.
Yeah, and a lot of people are seeing that, obviously, in today's environment. But you're absolutely right. It's so important, and it's made a major difference, obviously, in the conversations I have. Obviously, just the solutions that we're trying to pay attention to, and just being able to continue to talk that talk. There's so many other people out there that are trying to, but they, like you said, they've either been gone too long, or they may never ever have done it in the first place. But even worse, they're just not understanding what's happening right now. And believe me, if I tried to walk back into this and do everything we were doing then, I would have been a dinosaur, within 24 hours. So we had to completely change our game, and I had to, I had to continue learning, which everybody should be doing anyways. But it really put a new layer of emphasis on, for that focus on me.
Right. So what do you think is the most blaringly obvious difference in when you were working at a dealership to now that dealers really need to see?
I'm drawn back to it because of how much I've been involved with it. But obviously, from the marketing standpoint, the basic topic of just understanding how people behave today and how they find things. Obviously, the phones, major aspect of it, but just the what their expectation is.
Yeah.
It was so much different, obviously, in '06, '07, '08, even '09, before the first iPhone even came out. There was nobody tweeting about you.
Right.
There was nobody posting an update about you. Nobody was sharing a picture about you online. That just didn't happen.
Right.
And it was obviously those behaviors that just have exponentially changed. And there are still, unfortunately, people out there, vendor side and dealer side, that don't even have a full grasp of that and how much it's actually changing. Yet they leave their desks and they leave their jobs and they go do those same behaviors within other aspects of their lives, in the other stuff they purchase and just the other stuff they do, whether it's just, procrastinating or wasting time on Facebook. They still do this stuff, which ultimately leads to a new path to a sale in another product, or, just changing the way that they communicate. Whether it was, just everything via email and even a lot of fax back then. I mean, I remember communicating with a lot of the vendors via fax, and it's crazy to think about it.
I can't imagine communicating with someone via fax. Like, in today's world, it just seems so, imagine how long that took.
Oh, sure. I mean, just the overall delivery of information from a vendor.
Yeah.
Old school way, we'd have to wait for the package to arrive via, overnight delivery.
Yeah.
There was obviously none of this. There was no file sharing via Dropbox. There was none of that stuff. If you were lucky enough to have a completely robust network for your company, having shared drives and things like that.
Yeah.
That was the closest that we started coming to that sharing type of environment. But even then, most of the people, even in our organization, didn't grasp it. And it was all native files on your desktop. There was no sharing. There was no communicating like that.
And another point I think that is important when we talk about communication, there's a lot of debates that go on about, the consumer hasn't changed, just the way that we talk with them, and they make light of it. But the reality is the way humans interact with the world has changed. And if we want to stay stuck to whatever it is that we thought and we knew and what worked for us then, I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot. People are interacting with each other differently, the way they communicate, the way they give referrals and recommendations, the way that they want. Instant gratification was always there. Whether I'm calling on the phone or now via text, if you try to use the same tactics that when I first got in, that my managers would tell me, we'd be losing way more deals now than before. And even then, it was hard to lose each and every deal because we wouldn't give a price over the phone and so forth.
Yeah, there's a very simple reason why Facebook bought WhatsApp for $1 billion, and there's a simple reason why there's 800 million people on Messenger every single day. The amount of activity that happens in there, it started off with simple one-on-one, now you've got group, and now there's so many other features in there to the point where you can even send money through it. So once you start looking at what's happening just within a channel like that, and start to realize how people are leveraging it, why you wouldn't want to explore what is the possibility for your dealership, or even for an agency, a consulting company, a vendor, whatever. There's so many different ways that this can be handled. Then you start looking at what's happening from different age groups, obviously. Even something like Snapchat, in terms of how that's changing. The way that people communicate and the way that they stay in touch. And that's obviously a direct result of that, like I said, the need for this instantaneous, gratifying moment. And it's the problem is, again, it goes back to people not understanding, why people are doing this, or even how they're doing it. And instead, they're turning a blind eye to it. And as soon as you do that, you're done.
Absolutely.
You're not moving forward.
You've been in the industry since 2006, when using the internet and connecting with each other was really not even a thing until maybe some forums and things popped up. So what kind of trends are you seeing that the way that people are interacting with the industry as a whole, that maybe we should be talking about?
I think the simple one, and I think it's not too much of a shock, is just Facebook itself.
Okay.
We all know that we all know what's happening there, but I don't think the average dealership out there, I'm sure some progressive stores are on board with it, but even then, it still is unfortunately, in my opinion, a single silo, and it's not integrated into everything else that's going on with regards to the marketing efforts, whether it's just branding, new, used, part, service, whatever. It hasn't been integrated in. It's usually just sloughed off, and somebody has decided, okay, fine, we'll peel off 500 here, 1,000 here. We'll do some posts. But there really is no integrated plan. So I think that's one of the biggest changes, and I think the trend again going forward is now that the people that are aware of it, at least more and more, are starting to finally realize that there is the ability to actually be able to leverage some of these connections. For instance, I use Dealer Inspire for my dealer platform.
They're great.
And the data that we're able to pull in through the back end of the site has changed the way that we not only change the way that we make the first interaction, but how we, the path that we put that customer follow up. Think of it before there was one horizontal line, that all the long-term lead process responses would follow through. Now there's just all these different, what I say is the different off and on ramps, with regards to the amount of times that a customer has come back to our site. To be able to see that, and then not only that, be able to see their entire social profile in the back end too. And then on top of that, to be able to see this activity, between their other channels. I've had customers come in when I've gone through and shown the people that run this for us in the back end, the amount of, just to see their eyes, they're like, oh my God. And then you can imagine at first there's a lot of fear, and they're like, holy cow, all this stuff is available. We can see somebody's browsing history, with the cars, their Facebook profile, their Twitter profile, pull it up and we can see this stuff. Now, obviously, depending on how their Facebook stuff is their settings are set, obviously depends on how much we can see, but by and large, you can still see a decent amount. Mm-hmm. And even from somebody's profile images and their top header image, you can get a good snapshot of what these people are like, and that obviously changes the way that we wind up, like I said, changes the way that we wind up responding to them. And obviously the goal from Dealer Inspire for that fact was just to be able to personalize it even more, and that's a huge element, obviously for us from an experience standpoint, but it has to be understood from the dealership personnel that this is different. It's not just like, hey, I filled out an application, I submitted it, and then you get your canned response and the clock's ticking. Yeah. It's so much more than that. And unfortunately, like I said, people just don't understand this entire process. They don't understand how information is being tied in, and that it's there and it's not going away.
Nope.
Continue.
It isn't. And one of the things about social in itself that I love the most, that I used for my independent dealership, which it's hard to stand out as a small independent dealership. But what I noticed was in humanizing the business and making it seem like the people and faces and culture that it is, you're bringing those walls down, and it makes it so much easier to close that deal when they feel like they're coming in having already shaken your hand, having already gotten to know you and trust you a little bit. I felt that it was far easier once we got people that came in through setting appointments through social. Now, a lot of that has changed. People aren't really setting appointments as easily through social unless you really earn it, because everybody's now on social, but it still can be done. I mean, I see it all the time. How you use social matters.
One other thing, speaking of a trend and tying that in, Subi, with regards to this instantaneous, reaction and just giving them, I have to at least mention this. Have you ever heard of Call Drip?
Yes.
So, they've exploded onto the scene, obviously, and
yeah.
we put that in place. And obviously the speed of the response that you can get off of something like that, again, just changes that experience. And same type of reaction, even better, from our managers who are getting those calls. Obviously to be able to connect with somebody while that person, literally seconds after that person had just hit the submit button, to be able to, for the manager to hear the customer actually say to them, "Oh my God, I'm still on." Auto Trader. I'm still on Car Gurus. It's like, holy cow, what just happened?
Yeah.
So that I thought was, while it's awesome for the customer, it's also just as awesome for the manager who's experiencing that. Instantly he changed. He's like, now I see what you've been talking about in terms of changing the experience, making the connection quicker. The old adage of it's either your speed of your response or the quality and the quality of your response. Speed is doubling.
Yeah, no, just to piggyback off of the reaction that you got from the sales manager, I think a lot of times people get upset with the sales managers and with salespeople that are doing things the incorrect way, but we oftentimes don't realize that sales managers are bred by previous sales managers who were taught by somebody else who went before them, and we have to get their buy-in. We have to show them how these new tools are going to actually help them. They're going to fight you when their entire pay plan and how they bring home food relies on them selling a car, and they're going to do it the way that they are comfortable doing it and they know is going to work for them. But if you show them other ways, they're really open to anything that's going to make them more money. So using those tools and really illustrating for them how it could help them sell cars is exceptionally important. I'm seeing a lot more of the digital side working their way up into operations directors or sales directors. I was one of them, and at first I was thinking, well, why don't you believe me? I know what I'm doing. But getting them to understand your perspective, but also understanding theirs, is crucially important. Just wanted to say that while we were talking about that.
Yeah, it's been great to see the reaction. Obviously, that I have to show that. Obviously, we need to build something to be able to implement it, but to be able to just rather than take that route of this is what we're going to do, now go do it. That was more of the old school way. But now, because of obviously the changes in technology, the changes in just a little bit of a tweak of the process, but also the way that again. This person is they got their cell phone right next to them, obviously. They're submitting it through, their desktop, laptop, tablet, whatever. It may even have come from their phone, but the fact is, it's falling back right into what they want with this immediate response. And it's also, at the same time, I'm able to demonstrate to my manager how we just suddenly created so much more time for him.
Right.
If I'm sure if you ask any manager, they're going to say, besides more leads and more sales, I need more time. And these types of solutions not only help provide the time, but they are more importantly, I believe that they're showing them the light in terms of, I see what's happening now. I see how this is making that connection better. So I just love that part of it. Yeah, it's a lifestyle. That's all. It's for me. It's not for everybody, major caveat there. I think it applies a little bit more to us and our industry. But for me, the way it's always worked out was rather than, oh, okay, I have to work now, and then I have to have my life. Well, I've been fortunate enough to at least be able to create a lifestyle. That's what it is. That's what it's become. It's also helped define me as well in terms of what it is that I'm doing. And I think it took time, didn't happen overnight, but it was a long, arduous climb. But eventually, once it got to that point, and I'm still always working on it. There's a lot of new things I'm trying to implement even for this year to try to change that. Things like more automation, more just relying more on the data to be able to provide the information to make the decision, stuff like that. And it's a simple question. And what did you do at the end of at the end of the day? You ask yourself this: what did you do today that you enjoyed doing the most?
Yeah.
And that's going to at least start to make you think about things. And if there's something that you did that you enjoy, then that you can't do it all the time, but that's hopefully that can become something you do more of, whether it's a personal recreational thing or something that you obviously enjoy doing professionally. But there's always going to be the little granular stuff that still has to happen. And so you still have your responsibilities. And now it's either cutting out more of A so you can do B, but you still have to do everything. And for me, it's just it spoke to me, at least when I saw this, and it's really opened my eyes for what I'm doing. But I've seen what it's done even for my youngest son.
I think especially on the digital side, we're presented with, as an internet manager, director, we're presented with so many hats and so many responsibilities that we just assume and we take on, and until we can't see the plate anymore. And one of the pieces of advice that I would give to anybody in that role is, identify what is most important and definitely itemize the things that are part of your responsibilities that you're going to be evaluated for most. I don't know why we're so afraid to illustrate the value of what we bring. Just because someone doesn't understand it doesn't mean we can't make them understand it. So if you're in search of this lifestyle, this better work-life balance, then I would encourage you to write down what it is that you have to do and achieve those things. Don't ever put it off because fires keep popping up, because when you wear so many hats, you're always going to have to deal with fires. You're always going to have to put something out and solve somebody else's problems. But if you don't do your own, then you're the one that's suffering. But in pursuit of that, make sure you explain to your management what it is that you spend time in all day. And maybe if they don't value it, then maybe it's not something that you should be prioritizing. We don't often discuss our priorities within our role just because they don't understand it. So I would encourage you to do that. And the other thing that I would say is that we don't always love what we do. But when I first started, I would go into work crying every day. It's now that I love what I do. And even along the way, I loved what it was that I was affecting. But I hated it. I also knew, and this was something that Eric, you and I talked about, I knew that I had something that I was working towards, that I was working for. And for me, it was, I talked about this last episode of being able to affect change in mental health and children's lives, and being able to get to that place in my career where I could do that. So if you have something, then keep those passions and make sure you do that on your off time, and don't ever, ever, ever make your job the only thing in your life. You have to have other things. So if you, for example, want to affect change in the mental health world, then get to your job, do it even if you don't like it, but find parts of it that you love and do those things. And then also have side hobbies. I think a lot of times we dedicate ourselves and we pour ourselves into a dealership role, hoping and expecting that loyalty comes back, and it doesn't, and then we're devastated and we've got nothing. So make sure you work on things that make you happy.
You can adopt your own 20% policy too, just like Google does with everybody. You work on, give 20% of your time to some of these other projects. There's nothing wrong with that. Because at the end of the day, you still have to stick with yourself, and whether it's improving personally and or professionally, the only way it's going to happen is if you do that. And for me, again, it's at least it's evolved into this lifestyle. This pseudo always connected type of lifestyle of of just being in our space, and it worked for me. But it may for others, but you have to achieve your own balance with that, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's another cool thing I just read recently too. This has been a popular thing for a while, but it's coming to light, I think, more and more now. That for the people that are moving on with their lives and doing their various professional endeavors throughout their career, you should just expect to be doing something completely different every 3 years.
Yeah.
And if you're not open to that, then you probably need to go a different route. And again,
You're limiting yourself.
It's going. And again, it comes back to your starting point. How are you going to define yourself? That's going to create that work-life balance or this lifestyle that you want to create for yourself, within your personal and professional world. And I'm open to that. I think, quite honestly, I think the longest I had between coming out of college and then after that was with Auction Direct. Something like 7.5 years or whatever it was. That's the longest I've ever been in one spot. And realistically, looking at the consulting stuff that we've been doing, we're going on about 3 years, and we're going through basically a nice pivot right now because of how things have changed out there. A lot of the stuff that we talked about in the beginning, between just the behaviors, that's what's driving this.
Right.
And that you have to be, you just have to pay attention to that. This, what we've said before, this ebb and flow of people coming into the industry, doing their thing, and then thinking that there's greener pastures, beyond. And there's been a lot of people that have done it, you and I included, so many others. But I think it comes down to what do you really want? What do some of these other people really think that there is going to happen? And obviously, it's not all flowers and puppy dogs and rainbows. It's not for everybody, obviously. But at the same time, everybody is seeing it now, again, as a result of what we said before, the flow of communication. People are texting each other. People are group chatting. They're
posting, screenshotting what you say, sending it to their friends.
So everybody is seeing this stuff, and everybody is thinking whether it's either two sides of the coin. I either want to be that, or I don't want to be that. Some type of middle ground. But most of these people that are doing this, unfortunately, they're either not talking to the right people to either guide them, which I would strongly recommend. If somebody's looking to make a move from the dealership side to that, reach out to somebody. It doesn't have to be me. I'm just saying anybody. Just reach out and find out what the heck's going on.
Right.
And I'd love to throw this out. Just one perfect example of somebody that is doing an absolutely incredible job. And if I think everybody else, watching and listening would agree, Mike Davenport is probably the person,
totally
the perfect person that anybody would probably say, this guy probably wants to do this or to do that. Who knows what it is that he wants to do? I don't know. I've met the guy a few times. He's wonderful. He does a great job. Whatever it is he does, do I want to do? Doesn't matter to me. But he's the type of person that is obviously in the light, doing a great job on all accounts, in my opinion. Would probably be one of the better candidates to have the choices to him.
Right.
Absolutely. Over time, more and more opportunities will be thrown his way. So my point with all of this, Sylvia, is the fact that if somebody wanted to go that route, take a look at somebody like him. And because obviously it's happening right now, you're going to get the best, most relevant example of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what most people before, they either didn't have that opportunity to, the network wasn't as, it hadn't grown organically like it is now, but the ability to see and latch on and follow somebody's activities like that, and especially with the way that they're leveraging video now. And Mike's even doing the live video. He's not even doing Periscope. He's doing Facebook Live. So that type of stuff is obviously speeding up the pace at which people are hearing and seeing and learning about this type of stuff. So again, it's a different. It's a hard call. It's a hard call to make, obviously, when somebody wants to do it. But to your point, originally, is the timing right? Do you know what you're doing? Are you doing it for the wrong reasons? It's everybody thinks it's something that it isn't.
Well, I have 3 things that I generally kind of highlight when I have this conversation once a week at minimum with somebody that says, hey, I'm gaining a little momentum, totally going vendor. What do I do? And my first reaction is don't. Think about it first, because there's three things, right? One, it's not as easy as it seems. Just because you're seeing this romantic ending to a story doesn't mean that you see all of the other chapters that maybe they didn't put online. And I'm trying to do a better job of being as honest about the journey, the highs and the lows, because I get excited and I only post, hey, this is happening, or I'm here. And the feedback I'm getting is, oh, you're traveling all the time. This must be amazing. I'm like, I hate it. I hate traveling so much. But at the same time, there's a lot of highs and lows. There's a lot of be prepared. Number two, be prepared for criticism. It's hard, and be prepared to have people pick you apart. That's part of it. But because of those two things, that it's difficult to sustain relevancy, it's difficult to carry a company on your own. It's difficult to get into an incredibly saturated market. Look at the list of presenting the booths at NADA, and those are the gigantic companies that can pay that much, and the number of consultants are only, quadruple that. And then the final point is be authentic. If you are promoting yourself as a genius who's done amazing things in your dealership to get ahead, versus someone like Mike Davenport who's sharing the steps that he's gone through, helping other people along the way, it's blatantly obvious. So be authentic. If you're doing it for the wrong reasons, people are going to know and you're going to fizzle out real quick. But if you're doing it for the right reasons, if you're sharing really great content and you're making sure that you're constantly relevant, I think you'll be fine. But there's still a lot that you need to know on the vendor side. If you need to know it before I put it out, call me directly and I'll talk you off the ledge. Because it really only for the people that make the switch and have that fairy tale of a really incredible partnership of the company that hires them to get out of the dealership side, it's really, really a small percentage that make it work. So Eric, thank you so much for joining me. It has been a blast. We went way longer than we wanted to, but all great conversation. So how does someone contact you if they have any questions or want to talk to you about what you're doing at your dealership or anything else?
Well, I'm the only Eric Milch on the internet, so just Google me. That's probably the best way. You can obviously find me on Facebook, Twitter. I've got my website, ericmilch.com.
Spell your last name.
MILTSCH.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining this week as we talked about, a lot of things. So hopefully some of this pertains to you and it'll help you do your jobs better. If you have any more questions, contact me or Eric. If you have any topics, ideas, or need a dealer therapy session, contact me directly at Subi101 or at Ask Subi. And I'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much.
Turn on that radio and back here. The cops ain't likely to catch up with us, not tonight. So we can all be quiet and peaceable and listen to the music.
What up? What up? What up? What up?
What up, yo?
What's up, yo?
How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
I feel pretty good. It's Thursday. It's 3:30. It's Auto Dealer Live. Maybe you're familiar with us.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. But
So both of you that are listening right now,
you, John
which
and
one?
Jerry.
Gary, who's been listening the longest?
Jerry.
I think John.
Hey, Mike, is this New Kids on the Block? Who you got on there today, buddy?
This is Two-Pack Shacker.
Two-Pack Shacker. I'm gonna write that down. Sounds good.
I don't know, man, if I want to. I don't even really feel comfortable following Subi.
She's pretty good.
She's
very confident.
She is my sister
Smart.
from another mister.
My sister from another mister.
I don't like that.
You know, she was the lady in red today.
Who sang that song? It was like Christopher somebody. I hated that song, I'll be honest
Still
with you.
do.
It's a bad song.
It is.
But here's the good news.
All right.
Digital Dealer is, what, 5 days away? How far are we? 5?
Tuesday.
That's 5 days.
Tuesday.
So I'm excited about that, Dave. First one I'll get to go as the co-host.
Come on.
I want one of them badges, and then I want something also that says talent, like a.
You didn't even tell him, Mike?
What?
We ran out of badges, so we had to get. We were able to. Yours won't have your name on it. I'm just kidding. It
Anonymity, you know. I like
we'll
it.
actually handwrite in Sasquatch.
We had
for you.
already ordered. Listen, we had already registered when Cribbs was still here, so you're gonna have to walk.
I'm Dave
around.
Cribbs.
Dave Cribbs. I grew.
Really, Dave.
I grew.
Were you on, what's up with your thyroid? You're all bloated. I've been retaining water, like I can't tell you. Actually, this is from the Dave Cribbs collection. This jacket. You know,
Yeah.
This is from the Cribbs collection. It's right next to the Trump stuff at Macy's. Right next to it.
Man, I am so pumped. I can't wait till Tuesday. We're going to be at Digital Dealer, so we're looking forward to seeing all of you and just really getting to meet some new folks as well. So we're very excited. Jump on Twitter and use the hashtag AutoDealerLive. If you're not doing that, you're missing in my favorite part, and that's really the Twitter discussion that goes on. We kind of have an online takeover of Twitter, at least in this little, in our office.
Yeah, we trend in our office.
Yeah, like if you drive down the street a block or so, you're not trending. But right here, we trend, and we have a couple thousand tweets a week, and just some really good dialogue. Everyone weighs in and pontificates, in the words of my client and friend Brett Oob.
Yes.
Who, speaking of Brett Oob, will be on the Great American Automotive Panel on Wednesday at Digital Dealer at 5 p.m.
Yeah.
Listen, we have got an outstanding. Here's the crazy part about this, man. We have got 4 owners, dealer principals that are going to be on this panel. They're going to be talking to the crowd, and they're going to be weighing in on some of the hottest topics and issues that are really, really brewing. A couple of cool words there, brewing, right, in the auto industry today. We have Rick Reichart, John Marazzi, Matt Lasco, and Brett Oob. Tommy, it's going to be good.
All in,
Dog
ballers
diggity.
in their respected fields or wherever they're at. You got the number one certified pre-owned of all manufacturers in that list with Rick Reichart.
Over 8,000 a year.
That's a lot. And then you got Matt, who kills it with Ford certified pre-owned. Then you got Brett, who kills it in Louisiana. You got just
John, who kills it. And
John, who kills it right down the road here. Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
It's going to be crazy. And speaking of that, we have a couple of these guys who are going to be stopping by today. Today is a seat at the table, Tommy. And what's a seat at the table?
Well,
You got a seat at the
I
table.
had a seat
man.
at the table, but it was always the kids' table because they didn't have room at the big table,
Right.
And usually because of some, I had some issues as a small child, and I didn't,
Well,
made a mess.
you wet yourself for a long time, so they didn't want you doing that. At the
I
big
wasn't
table.
presentable at
Right.
the grown up table. So yes, but nonetheless, they didn't put me in the basement or the backyard or anything like that until the end of it. So I always had a seat at the table. So I get it.
So we have a seat at the table today, and today we have several of what I would consider friends and also great automotive minds. A couple of the people I just mentioned, aforementioned. We have Matt Lasco and John Marazzi. They're going to be stopping by today. We're not going to be talking about things that we're going to be talking about on the panel. I don't want to get into that because it's too fresh. It's too close, and I don't really want to get into that. We want to save it for the stage. But we will be talking about other things that are – aren't you glad? We're going to be talking about other things. And we have Matt
The
Koenig.
specificity that we roll with. We're going to talk about other things. It leaves it open. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The floor is yours, people. We want to see some ideas. Why don't you hashtag AutoDealerLive and give us some of your ideas just throughout the show, just random.
Always leave them wanting more.
Well, we don't have any questions. So basically
we need your help. So
we
actually, if
need
you
you
could
to
help us
start-
out, that'd be phenomenal.
Yeah, we need you to start tweeting right away.
We were
Like,
selling all
hurry.
the way up till this show came on.
Laura Madison is coming on today.
Boom.
Lisa Copeland is coming on today.
Fiat mastermind.
And not only that, man, she's incredible in general. What a great leader. And Lisa's going to be coming on. We've got Matt Koenig, Bobby Heron, Carrie Wise with True Car is going to be coming on, and it's going to be an interesting discussion. I mean, look, this True Car, thing has been going back and forth. Matt's on their dealer advisory, and he's going to be on too. So there's going to be some really good stuff. But I have a feeling that we're still going to get to talk a little bit about just what's going on there. So I'm really excited about the show today. And Mike, are we ready for commercial or panel? Panel.
The next up is
Panel one.
panel number 1. How about that?
We have John Marazzi.
Boom.
That's brought to you by The Next Up. By the way, The Next Up is panel number 1. John Marazzi, owner of Brandon Honda, one of the top Honda stores in the entire East Coast of the United States. Top Honda store in the West Coast of Florida. We have no stranger to this show. John's going to be on the panel next week as well. We have Laura Madison. Laura, superstar Toyota salesperson for many years, and really, in my opinion, revolutionized social selling. Now she's helping dealers learn how to sell better socially. And we have Lisa Copeland, as Tommy mentioned, not only Fiat of Austin, Fiat rockstar, but also leader and speaker and entrepreneur in general. Ladies, and then John, thank you guys for hanging out with us today, and we're looking forward to just jumping right in and talking about a seat at the table. And Laura, let me ask you a question here. I know John, and you work with Alan, and John is you guys have worked together. I know John's friends with Alan and so forth, and uses Alan's training. So I know that you guys agree for the most part. But I want to ask you, Laura, because we're not going to get on this and stay on this long, but just to touch on something that John, John talked about, Laura, with branding, and I know that you're a believer in that. Why do you think? I mean, I just want to ask this to kind of get up to that. Why do you think, though, Laura, that dealers have a problem with it, and I understand why, because I'm setting the question up this way. Dealers have a problem with it. I understand why, but do you think, Laura, that it's not really the problem per se, but it may be how some people represent themselves? Because I see some people out there that are quote-unquote branding themselves that really, honestly, I wouldn't want representing me. Will you touch on that for a second?
Yeah, I think you've hit on a really key point here, is that there's a right way and there's a wrong way to do it. And I'm seeing a lot, unfortunately, of the wrong way. I'm seeing a lot of people, really kind of either haphazardly or very strangely try and kind of brand themselves or promote their dealership. And I think and I don't want to speak out of turn here, John, but I think some of John's concerns in the past were very valid. They were concerns like, hey, if I've got somebody advertising lease payments and they don't have a disclaimer, are they breaking the law? Is that something that I'm liable for? Or, I'm paying for these leads and for people to come to Brandon Honda, what kind of other messages are people putting out there about the company and the reputation? So I think, and again, John, I don't want to speak out of turn if I've kind of misspoken on any of those or if I was incorrect in understanding your concerns in the past, but I think those are completely valid, and I think there's a lot of ways to combat that while still using kind of the power of personal branding and human presence on social media to benefit dealerships.
John?
Well, I went to the Woman in Automotive conference and I listened to Laura's speech, and she is absolutely fantastic, spot on, and completely gets the blending of how to utilize social media, brand yourself, and still do it in a dealer-friendly way. So I would encourage everyone to listen to her speak at Digital Dealer. It's definitely worth your time and effort. And we've taken a lot of her suggestions and implemented it in our store, and we've had quite the response. So, she definitely is cutting edge on how it should be done in today's market.
Lisa, kind of jumping in, and all of you guys are incredible, and John, we'll talk about this a little bit more next week. And I'm sure you're a big boy. Obviously, you didn't get to where you are without with everyone agreeing with you. There's differences in opinion, and I'm sure there's going to be some that may disagree. But I think your point is valid, and I'm a proponent of social selling, huge proponent. And Lisa, I think that where this goes, Laura teaches social selling, and she does a great job in training this. And I know they've just launched, some amazing product and so forth, and I just know how excellent Laura does, as John mentioned. But really, the social selling that I'm assuming that Laura's doing is also not just, hey, go brand yourself, but it's represent yourself, and so I think the thing that may spark fear, and if we don't, it's kind of like if we don't bridge the gap between the dealers, such as yourself and John, and those that want to brand themselves, it can hurt both sides. However, the branders aren't the only ones that, the dealers don't just need them. I think they need the dealers as well. And because there's the money, there's the platform, and so to speak. So I think the fear, Lisa, may be the apprehension of saying, hey, what's getting out there? And hey, I'm a busy person. I don't have time to vet everything. I don't have time to babysit everything. And so speak to that a little bit, because I think that's going to be a huge topic in 2016.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Well, I'll give a little shout out to Laura and Alan Ram. We also at Fiat Alfa Romeo of Austin have their training platform, and I think it's really valuable. But I'll tell you one of the things, and anyone who knows me and knows Fiat of Austin, we have built a whole machine on so much of it being social selling, but there's got to be a captain. There's got to be someone who is watching, because everything that goes out in the universe nowadays, and when I hire salespeople, I tell them it isn't what we sell, it's what we stand for. And so forget if you sell a Kia or you sell a Toyota or you sell whatever, it doesn't matter. But one rogue salesperson, one rogue, let's face it, customer out there can absolutely destroy a brand or destroy a franchise. And so I think there's got to be very definite rules in place. I think there's got to be great training that you have your salespeople go, and I think Laura's is fantastic. Like I said, I'm an Alan Rand customer. This is not a paid endorsement, but it's the only one I know out there that teaches social selling the right way. And we have to hold people accountable to it. I have a very strict social media policy that you have to sign when you come in our employment, and it is one strike and you are out. And end of story, because I have a brand to protect and I have a franchise to protect. And I think the dealers have got to really get their minds around that.
Well, one thing about it is the dealers were so naive, and everyone tells them social selling, but the dealers thought social selling was putting a post out on Facebook and thinking, or something out on Twitter that was cute or interesting. But, social selling really is YouTube, Facebook, Pandora, and pre-roll. And if you really think about that, the dealers need to have a comprehensive program about how to utilize those sources, and it's got to be part of your general marketing plan for the store. One of the best ROIs we're getting right now are both on Facebook and Pandora. And if you really think about what are people using, if you look at people's cell phones and say, what are they utilizing? They're checking their Facebook, they're listening to music, and we put structured, well thought out marketing plans together on those mediums. And when it's coming from your general marketing plans, and it's not some ad lib, hey, throw something out there that are going to, people will read. That's where we're starting to really gain traction on it.
I agree. I mean, we actually have a Facebook agency that only handles our social media now for Fiat of Austin, separate from that agency.
Go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say, I had a quick question. Somebody tweeted in and asked if this is actually from Candace Crane. She said, if the dealership brand is strong, does the sales rep really need to brand themselves as well? And I think that was just, it can be answered a couple different ways. Sure.
I saw that. This is Laura. I saw that tweet as well. And with all due respect to Candace, I mean, I think the answer is absolutely. A sales rep really needs to brand themselves, and it can happen underneath the umbrella of the dealership. That's something I've said over and over. To give the control. I don't disagree with Lisa that one rogue salesperson can really destroy, a dealership, a franchise. So we need, often some level of control. But the reality of why personal branding is so effective and worked so well for people like me, able to implement it, is because people need humans. Our prospective clients, they need to make human connections in order to really start to build relationships and trust with us to make these big purchases. And very often our umbrella of the dealership brand, it's not incorporating enough humans. And we really need that, in order for social media and for social selling to really be effective.
John, let me throw this back to you for a second. Okay, you're already a franchise of Honda. Lisa, you're a franchise of Fiat and Alfa Romeo, and so we have franchises. Are we are we by taking this to a hyper brand? Are we then splintering this into maybe a discombobulated, multiple brands, so forth, that may water down the dealership brand? I mean, I know that's the fear there. Is there a limit? Is there a line here? Because, companies, Starbucks, these companies out there brand themselves, and they're even could be franchises, but then you don't see individual employees necessarily branding themselves. And then the second part of that leads into the second part of that question would be, is everybody qualified to brand themselves just because they want to? Now are we starting to get into an entrepreneur? And are you really an entrepreneur? Because I don't know about you, John, but I failed in business and I just couldn't stop. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I failed. I kept going. Go ahead.
Well, you're the best, because I know you're trying to bait me into this again. But a lot of what you just said is absolutely true. I mean, not everybody comes off great on camera. Not everybody can present themselves in a professional manner. Not everybody is running or has the ability to come off, well. I mean, the issues that we deal with are compliance and legalities. I mean, you have Honda compliance now and the Honda Ag Covenant. Toyota's now going to an Ag Covenant. There's different things you can or can't do. I mean, you literally could lose your dealer marketing money from Honda or Toyota if a price is under invoice and it's posted anywhere where your competition can see you and report it. So there are a lot of pitfalls to that. And I talked about it before. I mean, the number one job a dealer has is to make sure his salespeople make money. And part of that is to drive traffic. And that traffic is whether you're driving them to your website, phone calls, or walk-in traffic. And your people got to be able to make a living. Now, the panic comes in when salespeople are standing out front and they're trying to feed their family, and the dealer's cut back all his advertising. He's not doing, dynamic display ads. He's not doing any internal variable offer marketing from the salesperson to their current customer base. These are the things where then salespeople scratch their head and go, man, I got to feed my family. I got to figure out a way to generate some action. And that's why they're going to this social in a panic. And then you have GMs hiding in their office that don't really want to get involved. So they're not looking at these things they're posting, and that's when things blow up. So there's nothing wrong with individual marketing as long as it's structured, well done, and in the loop of what the dealer's currently doing. That was my argument before.
Lisa?
Yeah, I'm all about, I'm fine if, under our guidance, they want to do social marketing. I'm all about it. But as much money as we spend, $10s of dollars a year that we spend in advertising to brand Fiat Alfa Romeo of Austin, I don't want anything to dilute from that brand, because that is the brand that feeds all the families in the dealership, not just that one salesperson.
So I'm lobbying then maybe we need, not that we need another position, but we might need, and I'm going to be talking about kind of a little workshop plug, culture shock, and talking about company culture, but we may need brand ambassadors, at our dealership, so to speak. And we probably have that person, but we may need to add that to a job description, because I'm seeing that, hey, this matters, but so does branding. And in reality, if I provide the opportunity and I provide, to make money and to brand myself and have freedom and to, to have somewhat control over a miniature business, so to speak, within, then I'm not going anywhere. If I can take care of my employees, they're not going anywhere. But there does need to be, as Lisa and both John said, some continuity. And just to shift gears here for a second, and we could take this for the next few minutes, just kind of shifting and still talking about social. Cradle to graves. It's still hot and it's big, and in layers and multiple layers, and dealerships having salespeople that have been there for a while that can't make the adjustment, and they don't want to lose a salesperson that sells 20 cars and upset them. So there's a lot of tiptoeing around the tulips, so to speak. But moving into this 2016 and looking at it, Laura, 60%. I saw something that recently on an article. 60% of mobile users. First of all, 83% of customers, according to NADA statistics, that are in your showroom are looking at their smartphone. And I think it's 100%. I don't know anybody that's not standing around looking at their phone if they're there long enough. But the 83% are looking at their smartphone while they're there. Okay, so 60% of these people, statistics say, are liable to more likely to make a call from an offer online they see from their phone, rather than respond via email or through text or something of that nature. So here's my question. If I'm looking at it, if a customer's looking at these ads or looking at online and they would rather make a call, are we prepared at the dealership to really take this thing to the next level? And how does that look? And what do the layers, I know who you work for, but what do the layers need to look like, Laura, in 2016? How does that need to work in bringing in new salespeople and possibly transitioning out those that won't change?
Yeah, I think you've hit upon, right before I answer it, I think you've hit upon something that I don't want to get away from anybody. We're not only talking about social, we're talking about trends. We're talking about what are our buyers doing. And social makes sense because our buyers, they're online. They're looking for dealership Facebook pages. They're asking their friends across social platforms for recommendations. So it's important, but it's just as important for us to pay attention to what other trends are going on. I mean, like you say, you've got some fierce statistics. I saw a Google study saying that search terms for dealerships' phone numbers are up 78% in 2015 versus 2014. So we need to be prepared, from all angles of how do we convert? How do we get these customers from these different arenas into the showroom? How do we really lay in a hook? And I think that's a must-have, whether it's on the phone, whether it's on social media, whether it's answering an internet lead.
I was gonna say, I think that's Google statistic you pulled up. I believe that was me. I believe it was actually me.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, Tommy's in our Tommy calls dealers.
Yeah, I call dealers a lot, and a lot of times I need to get direct lines, and there's 800 number on the website. So it happens.
That is a pain. By the way, if you sell dealers, a little trick that if you do sell dealerships, that the number on the toll-free number on the website is going to go through the internet department. Right. You're going to get screened. Find their area code. Lisa's is 512, for instance. Find Fiat of Austin, phone number 512, and then up pops the number that you need to go to.
John's 813, right? So
John's
we know that. Yeah, exactly. So we know how to get there.
Yes. At least get to the person.
There you go.
So you're not talking to Elliot or somebody. Hey, look. Right
hey.
So then you're not going to get
weird. It's like our sponsor or something. That's
John, you or Lisa want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, sorry about that. I was getting another call, but you're spot on with the question you just answered, or you just asked, because that's really what it's all about right now. There's really, with an internet department, you can sub out the BDC, you could create your own BDC, you can do a cradle to grave. The fourth option is to rotate your entire sales team into that internet department. But the number 5 one is something I've been talking about lately, and that's what I term a reverse BDC. And if you really think about the car business, the traditional model was you had floor closers, you had desk guys, you had all this firepower of managers waiting for the people to come in the showroom. The problem is they're not coming in the showroom anymore. So that little internet room where you have one manager, where you had, a couple people sitting back there, it's the smallest room in the building. They're getting all your sales calls and they're getting all your internet leads. So my thought on a reverse BDC is, why are dealers not putting the firepower where the action is? And really what should be happening in that internet room, yes, you should have some BDC agents that are making some of the follow-up calls and some of the outbound calls. Yes, you should have cradle-to-grave guys, but you also should have managers, your retail managers sitting in that room. Campaigns should be telling, and this is what I was going to talk about a little bit more and more extensively at Digital Dealer, but you should have managers in there taking sales calls. You should be in your marketing telling people that they should be talking to, they're going to be talking to decision makers. And if you really look at what the millennials and the centennials want, that's exactly what they want. And that's what dealers should be focused on. I did a review with a dealer friend of mine the other day. He says, John, why aren't I getting my unique visitors? Why aren't I doing the job I want? I said, first thing, let's pull your website up on a mobile phone. We pulled it up. It wouldn't even load.
Wow.
Then we pulled up a competitor of his that's complaining about business too. He has a video sitting on his home screen. And to what Laura talked about, people want to get directions, get a phone number, book service, and search inventory. If that isn't the main screen of your mobile platform, I mean, you're missing the boat. So that's what dealers should be working on right now, is that aspect of the business.
That's good.
Hey, Lisa, real quick, I just wanted to ask you, I'm kind of switching gears a little bit, but Candace Crane had talked, I don't know if it was the show you were on, or we had talked about basically the elimination of the F&I department, and she was a proponent of it. What did you want to weigh in on that, or do you have any?
Since we're talking about cradle to grave, and I mean, I think that kind of comes up in my mind. You know, I mean.
Yeah, no, I like Candace. Candace is a friend of mine. Hi, Candace. I know you're out there tweeting. I think it's something, especially smaller stores, need to maybe start looking at and considering. I'm a smaller store. I sell 120 cars a month. It's something that could be possible. The bigger stores, I don't know that we could go away from it yet. I know Candace has pretty good solutions to do that, but I think as we look at a lot of things, right, reducing margins and economies of scale, and just the customer demanding these experiences, and with the competitors like Carvana and CarMax that are in the market, and that's how they do business, and we're seeing their success. I mean, I think it's something that we need to just keep on our radar and see how that evolves. Because I am still an old-fashioned car dealer, but I'm seeing how the wave of the future is coming. And Candace is an innovator, and her husband's with Carvana, and they're innovators. And I'll tell you, the world's changing.
And I said this, John, I'll let you weigh in on that, and we have a couple more minutes here, but hey, listen, if you don't believe in what you're selling, then why get out of bed? And her husband's, obviously an executive with Carvana, and she trains dealers, along the lines of, this one price, one person, and right. She believes in it. They believe that they believe what they believe, and so
and it's crazy successful. Let's call it what it is. Carvana is very successful with it. So
absolutely, I mean, John. I mean, what do you think though? I mean, is it? I mean, I know. What's your thoughts on that?
If you're talking about specifically the F&I process, I shop Q Auto, and they advertise one process, one person, but in reality they have F&I closers, and they have a guy that comes over and takes the F&I TO, and he actually does the paperwork. So, what people say they do and what they actually do. I do know Carvana. I haven't shopped their process yet, but I will say this: with credit and beacons and advances and terms and conditions, and not only that, but you got to make F&I profit. I mean, we're $1,500 a copy across the board on new and pre-owned vehicles. Show me a company that has, people from start to finish handling F&I that are $1,500 a copy. I don't think there's any of them out there, especially on the new car franchise side. So that incremental profit is important, and it's important to generate. But really, I don't think people complain about the F&I process. They complain about the experience. They complain how long it takes. They complain about the transparency. They complain about the way they're treated, the attitude. They complain about having to come back and sign papers 3 or 4 times. So, that's really where dealers should be focused on, is the process and the quality of their people and the experience they deliver.
You'll hear John Marazzi if you're going to be in Orlando next week. He's going to be on the keynote stage with us at the Great American Automotive Panel, and along with Rick Reichart, Matt Lasco, and Brett Oob. And John, thank you for being with us. I know Laura. Let's give Laura and Lisa a chance to get some closing remarks here, and Laura can put a plug in for her.
Like quick 30 seconds, how to contact you, all that good stuff, ladies.
Absolutely. So I'm Laura at Laura Drives on Twitter. Many of you guys have been tweeting throughout the show. I'd love to see that. And Alan and I will actually be speaking together at Digital Dealer on Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. So super, super excited about that, and I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody there.
Awesome.
I'm Lisa Copeland, and you can get me at lisa@carsherway.com or Lisa C. Copeland on Twitter. And I won't be speaking until NADA. I'm doing a Women in Culture. So,
awesome.
I will not make Digital Dealer. I'm bummed, but I will be at NADA, so I hope to see everybody there.
Awesome. Well, Lisa, you do such a great job, and I can't wait to also, I'm sure you're going to be back at the Women in Automotive too. So,
yeah, can't wait.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you for joining us.
Guys.
And that was panel number 1. And I hope you guys have a great day. And we'll see you guys next week.
I'll take care.
Thank you. Tommy, it was awesome, man. And,
smart people.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about. There's so much. Yep. Let's challenge our listeners as we get ready for a quick commercial break, and then we're going to jump right into panel number 2. Let's challenge our listeners. Get on Twitter as you are, #AutoDealerLive. Get us, Mike, see if you can throw some of these, or Mikey, Kim, a couple of you guys, throw some tweets at us that you see. Give us your opinion on some of these things. Some of the things that we're talking about. Really, there's so much that fits in between these two pieces of bread, right?
Yep.
I mean, we're talking cradle to grave. We're talking about social selling. We're talking about e-commerce. We're talking about the car business. That's what it is. Somebody said, "Well, what are you going to talk about this week?" I'm like, the same thing. Listen, there's nothing new under the sun, so to speak. It's just what we do with the information that we have, which
that may be the elimination of the F&I.
But you know what, though? Here's the deal. That's just innovation. That's just forward thinking. Or is it? And we're going to have that discussion, by the way. Candace Crane, Frank Lopes, Jim DeLuca, and a few others are going to be on our panel, Tommy.
Yeah, there's no shortage of people talking about stuff. So, so get us your thoughts on stuff, guys. Keep tweeting #AutoDealerLive. Like I said, there's actually more stuff that we can get to through that panel. But people have opinions.
Will you look it up over the commercial break and bring a couple of little juicy nuggets?
I cannot make any promises, but I will do my best.
Listen, don't miss panel number 2, which is the next up.
That's the next up. Yep.
Right after this break.
Jason Rice from Lot Pop, and let me tell you what we do to help dealerships increase used car sales 20 to 30% in gross in volume. 3 areas we focus on: trend reports. We look at weekly trends that no one else is trending to make adjustments on our inventory. 2 is we do weekly review calls to review those trends, but also we dig through every car that needs to be price adjusted to increase the searches. And 3, we do a virtual lot walk, make sure every car is standing tall in line, and make sure we don't have bad photos like these. Check out our website, lotpop.com. our blog at automotiverevolution.com, and our weekly video tips at increaseturn.com. Thanks.
Hello, I'm Alan Ram, president and founder of Alan Ram's Proactive Training Solutions. Let's face it, good managers are defined not by what they do when they have a showroom full of customers, but more by what they do when there are no customers in the showroom. In 2015, whether you like it or not, the car business is all about conversion of opportunities and driving traffic. All those great closers and desk people are not doing you a whole lot of good if your dealership is not converting effectively on the telephone and internet. As an owner or dealer, when you see 5 salespeople standing by the front door doing nothing, don't kid yourself. Your dealership is not being effectively managed. Management by Fire is a 2.5-day intensive course conducted entirely by me that teaches managers how to effectively manage in today's automotive industry. Simple processes for driving high-quality traffic. For more information on upcoming events, please call my team at 866-996-4665. Once again, 866-996-4665. Thank you.
Max Profit Selling, an easy-to-follow, buyer-friendly sales process that will give you the tools, skills, and confidence to consistently sell premium vehicles to delighted buyers.
To learn more about selling the way your customers prefer to buy, please visit nopressureselling.com or call 1-800-515-0034.
We're back, and my right headphone went out right when I said there. It came back on. Hey, all right. Hey, we are back, and what's up, T?
Hi, everybody. I'm back. I didn't even go anywhere. I've been here the whole time waiting for you guys to come back. Welcome back to our show, our little
panel number one. If you
show.
Missed it, I would suggest going to autodealerlive.net or autotainmentnetwork.com and watching it. When this panel is over.
You know what I do, Dave?
Not right now.
Yeah, no, you're going to have to wait because it won't be loaded. Yeah. You know what I do, though?
What?
I subscribe to Auto Dealer Live's YouTube channel. And guess what I do?
You don't have to do that now, though. Go to our channel on Autotainment
like
Network, or, you go subscribe there.
Oh, well,
you don't want to have like 50 different places.
No, you don't.
But panel number one with John Marazzi, Laura Madison, and Elise Copeland was off the chain. Is that still like stylish to say off the chain? I don't think it is.
It's antiquated.
We need to come up with something else. Like what's off the his egg? That's not.
No,
that's
even
even
older.
older.
That's worse.
What's something new?
Dope.
Dope?
Dope is actually a throwback because dope is what I used to say when I was a youngster. Things were dope, fresh.
Matt Koenig will know this as well because of his age. He's somewhere right around, we're somewhere in the same ballpark. I don't know, but he's somewhere. My daughter, Matt, she's 15, is wearing freaking Adidas, like Run DMC style, white with the little black stripes. Those jokers, someone stole them. She went to youth camp. Someone stole them from a church youth camp.
From youth camp.
Those things are like $120 or $130 on Amazon, man. You can't buy them.
I think you go.
So anyway, the next up right now, we're going to move forward with and not talk about Adidas, but Matt Lasco, Vice President and owner of Lasco Ford and Lasco of Grand Blanc. Matt is mobile with us, and he's on. We have Carrie Wise, VP of Dealer Engagement and Communications at TrueCar. We have Bobby Heron, Director, Dealer Marketing at Zmod Auto, and Matt Koenig, CEO of Conoco and Buscador de Auto. Sound like it didn't sound kind of like, like a little bit.
What?
Like you knew, when I said
Actually,
Buscador.
Matt needs to settle.
I think you should have rolled it.
I think Matt needs to settle an argument because David Villa pronounces his last name as Koenig and I pronounce it as Koenig.
It's Koenig.
Yeah, it's Koenig. You got it. That's right, man.
The man with like 4 last names. And they all, you know what though?
I'm just going to start going by Matt.
You Google them. Here's the beautiful thing about it. You miss
first name, baby.
Yes, sir. What's up, Matt Lasco?
This is Matt Lasco. I just got to tell you, next time we do this, if you're going to put this crew together, will you just send the 4 of us down to the Bahamas or something? We'll call you from there because these are some people I wouldn't mind traveling with.
Heck yeah! Well, it's really cool, Matt. Yeah, absolutely. I'm there. What's really cool is the 4 of you guys will all be together in one spot next week as well, and that's going to be incredible. And I know all of you are doing workshops and have stuff going on, and we're going to talk about that too.
I had a question for Matt Lasco. Matt, did you grow out your hair, bro? I seen on the Digital Dealer website it's long. Huh?
I do. I've got some real hair for once. It
I
gets
grew out my
cold
hair
up
too.
here in the winter, you
Yep.
know.
Hey, Matt.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
I got to tell Matt. I got to tell him, Matt, though, because Matt's a good friend and a client for years. And Matt, I got to tell him because when we were putting together and helping you with some images for Digital Dealer, you said, "Hey, use this pic," and you said, "My wife wants me to use this pic with the hair." So that's what you said. That's what he said. So he
Well,
pulled
you
the
know,
weapon.
hey, you got to respect the proper people here. That's whose opinion matters, right?
That's right. That's right.
Happy wife, happy life.
That's right, Carrie. Carrie, speaking of Carrie, I want to ask you. I want to just throw the gauntlet down here. You're going to be
All right.
on our leading ladies panel as well next week. We're going to be doing that from the floor there, and it's right next to the dealer lounge. How cool is that, man? Dealer lounge sounds like there's going to be dealers there drinking and hanging out, and what better way to have a cool discussion. But throwing this out there, and I want to just ask this, kind of get it out in the air a little bit. Tommy, I know you why still, okay? It's still the jury out, right, with TrueCar. I mean, let's just put it out there. Why are dealers in 2015, looking back and kind of looking forward, kind of bridging the gap, why have they been so intimidated? What's the deal? Why vendors and why is TrueCar? It's like, oh, TrueCar is going to be there. Oh, TrueCar's there. Why?
Well, and we look historically, and that has been the case for anything new that's been introduced to the market. We can go back, not even naming names, but we've seen that happen. Our number one goal is to get quality customers to our dealership. I mean, bottom line. And we haven't always communicated that the best way. I can just say right now that regardless of the past, I feel more hopeful for the future. We have new leadership in place that I think can help us articulate that better and help dealers, really help us get our message across on how we want to partner with dealers and not be their enemy. And I don't think we've done a great job of that, in the past. And so, we take credit for that. And then our goal right now is just to listen to dealers and to try to figure out how do we overcome that? How do we overcome that?
Hey, David, can I speak in real quick? Just
sure.
as a person that I feel like we looked at TrueCar negatively and have grown and embraced TrueCar.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like the fact that every time the damn survey comes out and says, how do people opinion on different positions, car salesman still comes up as this horrible person that they look at us like we're lawyers and IRS guys, right?
Right.
Well, that all comes back from like 1978 through 82 car salespeople. So for whatever reason, it takes a long time in our public eye for people to lose that stigmata. But as a dealer that has really embraced TrueCar and also been lucky enough to learn about them, I got to tell you that if you looked at them 2 years ago or you looked at them a year ago, you have to relook at them now because their hands, I think, were tied by an original founder, and I think that the people within the company now can act on the way they want to treat their dealers. And I've been utterly satisfied as a client, and I would embrace them because I think that they honestly are getting a cutting-edge advantage over the other third-party people that are getting fat and happy off of the dealers, where TrueCar is investing back into helping their dealers.
At the end of the day, I would just add that, talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. And I can say all this stuff about what we are and what we plan on doing, but really the proof is in the pudding. And I think the next couple months for us with new leadership is listening to our dealerships. They're our customers. And then figuring out what do we need to do to bridge that gap, to bridge that the misperception that we truly believe is out there, and then do the right things by them so we're ultimately their partners. That's it.
You can't say bridge the gap, Carrie, because that's from our days at Edmunds. So I know you'll probably get a call from them by using bridging the gap is probably trademarked. So another fantastic third party that dealers love, Edmunds. You may not want to be, stealing their thunder by saying bridging the gap.
No, why do you have to call me out like that? Well, I'll use some other.
Because I have to call you out on something, and you actually said something nice as TrueCar, which took a little bit of my thunder away because I've been such a big fan of TrueCar. So now that you said we're going to listen to dealers, now I just kind of have to watch and see.
Is that it, Matt? She dismantled you. She dismantled you.
It's just really not it. I'm just trying to be nice to Carrie because we just started. And it's actually not Carrie. And, here's the deal. Matt Lasco actually won me over a little bit, though, on the last thing we were talking about TrueCar. And I only say a little bit because I like Matt. But, the reality is this, and we said it before, too, and we saw it with our Spanish stuff. Dealers more and more keep saying, I'm kind of sick and tired of somebody being in the middle of me and my customers. So I think there's a place for everything, right? So there are many dealers that just don't have a handle on how to get the customer directly in the door to them. They just don't have it figured out yet. And that's where a lot of third parties can come in and help. But because we had so many dealers even saying to us, even about our Spanish stuff, they said, listen, we don't want another freaking classified site. Can you just give us a website? And finally we just went, okay, screw it. We'll just build websites for you. And guess what? Not only are they happier, but I really like the revenue stream better. So it works. The dealers are happy, and they're happy to write checks. We're happy. Everybody's happy. So TrueCar, I'm really interested to see what happens in the next few months, because realistically, I don't hear more and more dealers going, I just love my vendors to be more vendory. I'm hearing them go, I just love them to get the hell out of the way so I can just connect directly with the customer. So that's always been our mission even as a classified site, and now even more so. But, I'll be curious to see what TrueCar does, because in the past, I really hated still hate the damn Jeep commercial that I just saw at lunch today. He went and goes, well, I got screwed on my Jeep, and he went to TrueCar and bought from the same dealer and didn't feel like he got screwed. I still can't stand. I can't stand the marketing. So that would be the big change I hope.
Let me throw this out there first, Matt. Before before you answer, let me just say one thing about the dealer. Danny Benitez the other day interviewed on his show that he has for Autotainment Network. He interviewed a customer. The old adage that I've said for years that a customer would rather go to the dentist than a car dealership. So going back to that stigma for a second, and I know that we have to change that because dealerships are different today, for the most part. But he interviewed someone in a parking lot of a Walmart and asked them that question: would you rather a husband and wife go to the dentist or a car dealer? She said the dentist, and it was funny. But I think people put it in their will. I literally think people put it in their will and pass it down and be like, don't trust a car dealer. So I think that's where it comes from. And so Matt, you're right. It is. Where do they get it from? It's from the old days, so to speak. And I know you're working feverishly, Matt, along with a lot of other dealers that are leading the way to change that. And I'm going to let you comment and say what you were going to say. But someone just tweeted out, Matt, that TrueCar, an ad person, I'm not really sure who they are, said I showed one of my clients the other day how TrueCar was my largest grossing lead provider. So I don't know. I'm gonna let King.
Well, before you say that, I would say with the TrueCar thing, and my opinion on it as a dealer and a dealer person, the thing is that dealers are unforgiving. And so TrueCar has taken a step in the right direction by bringing in people who have past dealership experience, changing out their management team, and ultimately a lot of lead providers tick us off, right? We don't always want to give them our money, things like that, but TrueCar really, I think we all know what the kind of downfall situation was and how it's got to come back, and they're working in the right direction. And I'm not talking about how leads work. I'm just saying in general, running a company. The leadership change was a must-do.
And here's my point as a dealer, and I don't care if it's TrueCar or any of the other third-party sites. Koenig, I know you do an Hispanic thing. If you had a personal relationship with C-SPAN, and every person that watched C-SPAN, their IP addresses were shared with you, and you were able to offer a service that connected dealers directly to those people, then you would capitalize on the opportunity. Well, TrueCar developed relationships that allow us dealers to connect to someone we could not physically, there is no way to connect to. And here's the example. Today, I'm delivering a 2-car deal that has all had to go through the mail back and forth and everything else to Korea with power of his attorney and blah, 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 to an active military mom who's coming back to the United States. She doesn't live anywhere near me. Her daughter lives about 40 miles from me. The daughter came up, test drove the 2 cars, picked out what mom wanted. We had the best TrueCar price in Michigan. The mom did credit apps online. We then did a FaceTime with mom to go over the terms, the conditions, and everything else so she was comfortable. This was at 3 o'clock in the morning Michigan time in order to talk to her in Korea, right? And I'm delivering 2 brand new Fords to her today that I could not, there is no way that Koenig, you'd have to spend $100,000 just to find that lead to have found me that deal. And that's why I think it's awesome to vanish.
No, I don't think they'll vanish. I really don't. I don't think they will. And that's not what I'm getting at. I guess my big thing with TrueCar,
everyone else can talk to USAA or talk to C-SPAN or something. So
no.
That's why you
hit it on the head with that.
Go ahead, Matt.
Well, and I'm not saying that dealers have to get away from it. My thing with TrueCar.
One Matt at a time, please.
Yeah. No, my thing with TrueCar is really more the advertising structure that's perpetuating the stigma, right? So, like Village just said on a minute ago, right? Danny Benitez asked a lady in a freaking Walmart parking lot, you want to go to the dentist or a car dealer? And she's going, I'd rather go to the dentist. Well, that sucks, right? So TrueCar does have some great things like you just brought up, right? They connected you with somebody. And that's why I said I'll be excited to see the direction they're going. The biggest hope that I can say, as someone who was on the dealer side for a dozen years and on the vendor side now, is that I just hope the marketing changes, because in the past, the marketing always had this undertone that if you walk directly into the dealer, you're not safe when it comes to a deal.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. And I know that they do the commercials nice, and, they're both still having fun with their Jeep in the dirt. But at the end of the day, the one guy got his ass screwed. And the other one was good because he went to TrueCar first. And that's the thing I hope that they change in the marketing, is so that they don't make dealers look like jerks. At the end, they just go, hey, We've got a network of great dealers that you can hook up with, like Lasco for. That's all. So I'll be curious to see the marketing. And with Carrie-wise being involved, I believe change for the positive.
So, Carrie, how did they do that then?
That.
You're welcome for that.
So, Matt, I want to answer that regarding the marketing. I mean, we certainly, I certainly hear where you're coming from. When you look at our direction and where we plan on taking our marketing is really about highlighting the dealer, highlighting the fact that it isn't just about price, it's about the experience. And the fact that if you go to a TrueCar dealer, you're not going to have to start over from the beginning. They're going to know where you are. You're on step 4 of the sales process, and they're going to pick the deal up for the deal up. And so that's really our direction going forward.
I want to say something about like the Matt thing here. Lasco, I think that the reason that you were able to do what you did is because you focused on the customer experience. FaceTiming the customer at 3 a.m., of course you're going to nail the deal. And that's what it comes down to. One of the most frustrating things for me coming in and out of a dealership is when I hear people say, oh, that lead source is no good. Because what? They're pulling one group of customers who's no good? No, you're not handling it right. And so when a lead, and I don't like to call them leads, I like to call them in-market buyers. And when an in-market buyer is handled appropriately with a good experience and a solid process, I don't care if the lead source is the garbage man. You're going to close the deal. And you guys, Lasco, are really good about that. I mean, you dominate in our market. I'm in your market. So I completely, I agree with you on the way that you handled it, and that's why that deal was so easy to process. And I can see where Matt's coming from, too, being a past dealer myself.
Let me throw this out there, and you car guys can Bobby, you and Matt can kind of debate on this too. What's your thoughts on does transparency or too much transparency, whether it's TrueCar or anything that's really out there, does it? And I know Matt's answer already because he's going to say I'm so freaking good and our team's so good because we train and so forth that we overcome that. But does so much transparency hurt gross profits? Let me give you an example. My wife, we bought a few months ago, and it was a specialized car and so forth. But I called a buddy of mine. She bought an SRT Grand Cherokee, and we were paying cash for it. We were going to buy it. So I'm in the car business, but I've gotten screwed. I've gotten screwed more than anybody else in the last like my friends are like, oh hey, what's up, buddy? Boom, they made like $7,000 or whatever. So it's like. I called my buddy up, Marsh Bites, and I said, Marsh, and he went on TrueCar. He actually texted me, the freaking, I shouldn't be saying this, I just threw out text me the information. I walked in that dealership and undressed that guy, told him this is what I'm going to pay, and I walked out. There was only 10 cars, Matt, in a 100-mile radius, and I walked out with the exact price that I wanted to pay. And Marsh said, this is what you should pay.
Was this your way to talk about your new 750 BMW?
No, I didn't do that. At least I didn't do that. I got screwed, I'm sure. I paid...
Now, you can review the Periscope on that, I believe.
Yeah, you can review the Periscope. The guy pretty much sold me full sticker.
And Dave was like, thank you.
I was like, thanks a lot.
I love it. Good job.
David, I would tell you, and just because of that statement, just for fun sake, the same thing that I told my mom the last time she bought a car. You're going to get screwed. You made a choice and a decision. And if you didn't do your research, and that's on you, baby. But with that being said,
you said that to your mother?
In terms of the
what the heck?
I didn't use the baby part, but no, I told her she didn't ask the questions, But we had this discussion recently about people buying cars. And here's the thing, like you just said, you went in and paid exactly what you wanted. No, you didn't. You went in and paid exactly what you found online that you thought was an available option because TrueCar provided it for you. And if TrueCar was priced $1,000 over invoice, you would have thought that was a perfect deal too. So it's really a perception issue, and that segues right into that transparency question, which is, if you are a dealer who is fighting transparency, what do you think what do you think you have that they didn't find online? The price of the cars, the trade-in value, the availability, the leases now. The only thing we ever had in the last couple of years that was ours for control was the trade-in value, and Auto Trader jacked that right out on a boom. Here's a direct. So the transparency isn't something that somebody should be afraid of, but knowing your customer, reading them, and knowing what you have to provide for them, that's the difference between being able to kind of hold that growth and not, is knowing who you're working with and tailoring the experience.
Matt, you want to weigh in on that? Did it help me or did it help the dealer? Did it help us both? I mean, I feel better about it.
I don't think it's here's what everybody misses. Gross or profit comes from supply and demand.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm abundant with inventory and I know the factory is going to hit me for another wholesale and I'm going to need more of everything and I want to earn allocation, then I'm willing to sell vehicles cheap. But the TrueCar tool also lets me raise my price in 13 seconds. So when I'm finally running out of 2015 F-150s, let's say, then my price is going to go up based on the supply. And I think that people miss the fact that you're in control of everything. And I don't know if it was Kerry or someone mentioned the fact that they look at it as an in-market opportunity. I've said 100 times on this show that all I want to do is meet someone, because I will earn their business if I get to meet them. And it's a medium to meet people. So, no, I don't think it affects my gross profit at all. You just heard me say I wanted to deal because that was the lowest price in Michigan. But I couldn't win that deal if I wasn't, but it lets me get all the other deals. It lets you earn the inventory. It lets you get a volume bonus.
And if I can jump on,
Carrie,
that
actually,
Matt just said about
piggyback off that, but is it just that it's change?
Is it change, Carrie? They're scared of change. Is that what it is then? I mean,
well, certainly. I mean, I think when it comes to transparency and putting the information out there for the consumer, I mean, I think there is some hesitation, right? You're having to compete against other dealers. But here's I want to go back to something that Matt said, and he was talking about his pricing strategy and monitoring it and supply and demand. And I think what I'm going to talk about a digital dealer is that pricing transparency. It's not about just throwing some price out there. You have to constantly monitor that. You have to monitor supply and demand. It's not about setting a price and forgetting it. And that's something that we constantly push our dealers to do. Is it's one thing to have a price, but you have to monitor that price at any given time and make sure that you're seeing what the competitor in the market is doing, and that's important.
I have another really good pitch, ploy, whatever you want to say, for a dealer that's questioning this.
Matt Koenig, by the way, is about to explode. His face is purple.
Wow. I have a guy that's down in Texas. I was in one of the better Ford 20 groups in the nation, right? Mm-hmm. The single highest new car gross per vehicle guy is in Texas. And he is actually a one low price dealer. And here's the facts. They took and analyzed every transaction and figured out about how much they were selling as a ratio over invoice. And they cut the fight with the customer and at where their average transaction price is. So by doing that, they're, number one, to a price quicker, and the negotiation becomes less harsh. And two, they've shown a big discount but still held some great profit. Well, TrueCar is the same way. You don't go back and forth time. This is where I'm getting to. If you check any survey in the auto industry in the last 12 months, they will tell you the most important thing to change is the speed of transaction on a car deal. And TrueCars and third-party leads and things that provide a price fast, that with transparent rebates and transparent trade offers, allow a dealer and a consumer to complete a transaction quicker. And that's a missed value. The goal is to have a speedy transaction, and that's one of the tools that we use that for.
I think part of that, too, though, is that the goal is to manage your business. I mean, you hear all these people, you go into dealerships or you work in a dealership, you work for a group, and I still work for a group even as a vendor. And I hear people say things like, oh, I can't hold any growth. Oh, I can't. Well, do you know your market? Are you buying and acquiring vehicles the right way? Are you selling them at market value? Because if you can't work digital and you can't sell cars online and you're saying you're not making any money, you're not doing it right. It's not about anymore saying I'm going to price a car $6,000 higher because I've had it for 0 to 15 days. Like, it's pretty basic. Price to market. Merchandise your stuff and make your digital showroom a priority. And if you do, those things start to go to the side, and then you focus on processing people and all those elements.
We have to wrap up, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to give you guys each a couple minutes and we're starting with Koenig because he's been waiting. And we're starting.
Yeah, please let him talk.
Yes, we'll go Koenig, and then we'll go Bobby, and then we'll go Matt, and then we're in with you, Carrie. We'll let you get the final word here. And then what I'd like you guys to do at the very end of your comment is, since you're all speaking and you have workshops going on, let us know when they are, and so we can so our listeners can schedule those into their agenda. So we'll start with you, Matt Koenig.
First, thanks again for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. And here's one thing I just want to touch on really quick, and that is I've heard the word transparency said probably a half a dozen times in the last 35 seconds, and it's almost getting that word this past year has almost got as annoying as the sentence, let me be honest with you. Matt Lasco lives it. So when he says, when he's talking about on the website, you can have transparent pricing, transparent. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying that the word it's wore out. So whether it's TrueCar, whether it's anybody, how about don't say it, just do it, right? Like if you're shit straight up and you're legit, just be legit. Show people what you got. You don't have to tell them you're going to do it. And touching on what Bobby said about gross profit, here's the thing. I don't know what happened that all of a sudden, I think it was fear from marketing or third-party vendors or whatever, but many dealers have this fear that it's not okay to say, I'm worth the money. I'm worth doing business with. I'm worth paying a little more for. We don't need to be afraid of making a good living if we're really truly taking care of people. I'll tell people right now, if you want me to come and speak at your dealership and you're not Matt Lasco, cool, no problem. If I'm going to fly in, this is how much it's going to cost you. That's a lot of money. Don't bring me. But I don't fly out there for free. I'm not Mother Teresa. I'm worth it. Keep the same people talking. Keep losing your ass. Doesn't matter to me. It's not my store. We can't be afraid to ask for money if we deliver a great service to people. So dealers, you got a great product. You got great staff. Be proud of them and make enough money so that you can service these people after the sale. As far as Digital Dealer goes, Wednesday morning, 9:30, I'm bringing it back to basics. Everything in the sales process starts with actually knowing the fundamentals. So I'm going to be helping dealers know what are the basics to even getting started with reaching Hispanic buyers. So Wednesday morning at 9:30, I'll be doing that. And then March 21st, though, make sure you guys hook up. Mike Davenport, a lot of rock star automotive people that are killing it right now. Jennifer Briggs, some absolutely amazing people. We're doing the first ever virtual automotive sales conference. So go to rockstarautoconference.com and check that out. Because March 21st, you'll be able to hook up. And for $49, if you don't buy a virtual ticket, you need a helmet. Because you'll make some money. So you better hook up.
Simple.
All right, Bobby.
I made it simple for me.
So in response to Mr. Koenig, who's a great friend of mine, and often we disagree, but we still adore each other. I'm going to say that before I say this. But I think that's a cop-out. I think it's old school to say that somebody's going to pay more because they like you. I believe that people will pay more because of the experience, but you first have to offer that transparency. I do not have the right as a dealer to ask a customer to do something or to ask a question when I have not answered the ones that. And when you're in that mindset, it's a problem. And that is the transparency part, as much as we don't like that word. But then I think you have the opportunity to tell the experience to the consumer where they may pay a little bit more and not have to drive to another dealership. But I think we kid ourselves if we believe that we are, as an industry, at a level of experience that we should ask for somebody to pay more. So that being said, I have just joined ZMOT as the Director of Dealer Strategy, and I will be doing my first ZMOT presentation at Digital Dealer on the first day in the morning, right after keynote. So please come see me. I'm going to be talking about how to hire and recruit, retain, and connect with the right people for your dealership. I know a lot of speakers are really known for one topic. I'm all kinds of universal. So this year, in the beginning, that's my focus, and I'd really like for you guys to join me during that. And you can check us out at our booth at booth number 936. Awesome. And I hope to see you there.
Mr. Matt Lasco, talk to us, Chief.
Well, I first off, I appreciate all the time. I love catching up with you guys. Matt and Carrie and Bobby, thank you very much for sharing the moment. I will be down at Digital Dealer. I speak on January 20th. It's Wednesday at 9:30. Kind of a unique session. I switched my topic around this time around. I'm going to talk about trying to convert the mindset of managers into coaches. And this is something that I don't care if you're a sales rep, a sales manager, a general manager, or a dealer. I assure you I'll give you a few points that you can take back that can help change the way you're looking at how your business is being run, and also help maybe give you some benchmarks on what it really takes to make some of the changes or progress that you want to do within your company. It's definitely a sales strategy opportunity, and I'd love you to come see me. And then I'm going to sit with David and a couple of great car guys on the keynote. What's that time, David?
It's Wednesday at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Wednesday at 5 o'clock. So come check that one out. I know that I'll be the smallest brain in the room, so you'll get more info from the other guys. I'll just sit there and give you my 2 cents.
Actually, if I'm in the room, you will have one on me, Matt. So that's the encouragement. I'm just here for looks. So awesome. So Carrie Wise, you have the last word.
Oh, wise one.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on the show, you guys. And I'm on Tuesday at 9:00. Sorry, Matt Koenig, I'm using a word that you hate, which is embracing transparency beyond the price quote. But it's very much, my topic's actually very much in line with what we're talking about now, which is that transparency isn't about just an upfront price. It's so much more. It's your pricing strategy and how you're monitoring that. It's a value you bring. And without that, transparency can't be successful. And so I'm going to be touching on that, sharing stories like the story you heard from Matt Lasco from dealers that are successful in terms of being transparent, but also making money while they're doing it. So hope you guys can come Tuesday, 9:00. If you need to reach me at all, I'm on Twitter, KKWise11, and look forward to hearing from all of you guys.
Outstanding. Well, thank you guys for stopping by, and we look forward to seeing you guys all next week. And incredible discussion. It's always thought-provoking. And Matt, Matt Koenig. You know what? I appreciate you coming on there, man. Sitting right there in the middle. If you can see our screen, like the Brady Bunch, so right in the middle, like Alice. And got ganged up on, man. We're looking down right now at you. You got ganged up on, man. You know what? That's you held your own, baby.
You know what? I could take it. You know, that's why I started boxing, because I figured I should learn how to take a few punches, because that way when I come back, just like Rocky Balboa or like Creed, I can just take everybody out in a moment's notice.
Apollo Creed died.
Watch your back. Watch your back. No, his son, bro.
His son continued on. Yeah, I know, but Apollo Creed died. That was a horrible analogy. Should use somebody else. Rocky would have been great. You left it at Rocky. Rocky's still built, 70 on steroids and everything.
Fine. I'm like the Italian stallion.
There you go.
Just there it is.
You know what I love about Matt Koenig? He has the ability to form a relationship with people and continue a friendship and separate business and personal. We disagree and agree on the same amount of topics, and it's always nothing but mad love afterwards and much respect. So I
called alcohol.
That about you, Matt.
I was going to say, that's not what his tweet just said, but whatever.
Bobby was going to say, do you know what I love about Matt Koenig? Everything, and just leave it there. But
hey, Matt,
I'll take what you said.
Hey, Matt, delete that tweet that you just sent out, because Bobby will change her mind when she reads it.
Yeah. That's not how you spell that either, by the way. That's not how you spell that.
Well, Matt Lasco.
I was going to say, and working at TrueCar for the last 6 months and knowing Matt from a former life, I completely agree with you. You just said in terms of separating business and friendship. He's a great guy.
One thing I will say, Carrie, Matt Lasco, one thing I will say, one way, Matt Koenig will put a tutu on and stand up and do a TrueCar commercial if they ever bought his company. Hey, if they ever bought his company, all of a sudden you'd hear him walking out going, TrueCar, they're freaking phenomenal. Man, let me tell you something. The best people.
One thing you know about me is that is not true. No matter how big that check is, if I don't embrace it, I won't dare.
Matt, you can buy him one.
I love you, though. I love you.
I'll have the tutu ready at Digital Dealer. I'll have that tutu ready for you.
Nice.
All right, guys.
I don't know where we go from there.
Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, guys.
All right, safe travels.
See you later.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
That was awesome.
That was fun.
The thought
of
MK in a tutu.
Yeah, no, it's disturbing, to be frank. You know, and I concur with him on the transparency thing. Also, the let me be clear. Somebody says, "Let me be clear."
Let me be clear.
Let's be honest.
Blood shoot out my
means.
eyeballs, huh?
That's what transparency means. Let me be clear, or let me be transparent or clear.
Oh, transparent. So
or
in other words,
invisible.
you're going to be completely lying to me right now. That's what you mean by being transparent.
Let me be a window.
Let me be honest, because I've been lying to you for the last 5 minutes. But let me be honest.
You know what? In all honesty,
and to tell the truth,
everything else I said was a lie.
But to be completely frank with you, because I've been BSing you the whole rest of the time.
To be completely frank with you, because I was being Bill.
No, you ruined it.
Huh?
No, that's good. That's all right. I'm good with it. So what else are we doing?
That's it. We are way over. No one's listening anyway right now. We got one person. Everybody else.
My wife will be watching this.
Be a window.
She usually goes to the
Bobby's
beginning
listening.
and the end, because that's the only time I really talk.
Yes.
You talked more. You talked more today.
What
Did I talk? No, you're good. I don't.
No, it's not
it's
that.
like,
I just
hey,
can't help it.
let me interrupt Mozart while he's.
I don't
in the
like
middle
doing
of a
the show by
concerto.
myself.
Oh, I don't
at all. It doesn't feel right.
No, that's what I'm.
Arnold Terrina. I want my Monster Mike bobblehead.
He's got some. He's got a.
We'll see you next week.
He's got a
Arnold.
digital dealer, right? And he's
Yes,
got
he is.
a session or something.
He does have a session.
Does he want us to tell it? Did we talk about it?
Who?
I don't know. He has a session.
Me?
I don't know.
Dave
Was it for me?
does, actually.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Arnold.
No,
Yes.
Arnold has a session. He was asking. I guess
Tuesday.
he was, do we
My
promote
session
it?
doesn't interfere with any of those that you saw on screen.
That's good.
Tuesday is it 3, Mike, or
3:30?
3:30 p.m. Tuesday.
Refreshing.
Culture shock. I'm going to be talking about how to develop your dealerships and your company's DNA.
DNA.
Yeah.
You get deep with it. That's the thing we all know about Dave. I work
Culture.
with him all the time. The guy gets deep. You're gonna get to experience that at Digital
she
Dealer.
said.
Oh, you didn't say that.
And if you follow Dave,
I'm so sorry. Forgive me.
as soon as that workshop
He's married.
finishes up, he will be running with me back to our booth because we have a live panel at 4:30.
Yes.
I'm going for basically for the hotel and the per diem that we haven't discussed yet. My per diem.
Yeah.
You don't get any.
Guy makes like.
You have to make it to
guy
your
makes
third
like,
conference.
Guy makes
I only
like $7,000 a week.
I require
He needs a per
only
diem.
brown M&Ms, roast beef sandwiches,
And you'll get
delivered
none of it.
to my room.
All right. Thank you guys for hanging out. Arnold, I know you and Bobby are still with us, and we want to thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
We out, guys.
God bless you. Good night.
See you next week.